Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to show you how I made these coasters and a coaster holder with epoxy resin. So the resin I have, or the epoxy, is Glaze Coat. I believe that's the name of it, and we got it several years ago from like either Home Depot or Lowe's. And this is the hardener. The other one was part A, this is part B. And my hardener has turned yellow. That's why I need to put some color in it so it doesn't look yellow, because I don't want it to be yellow. So anyway, you can still use it. Just put color in it and, it'll take care of it. But so I mixed the two parts together and I stirred it up. And then I'm going to use this Peacock alcohol ink in it. Now, I really should have, because I wanted it to be blue. And, peacock is kind of a bluish green or a greenish blue, whatever. And with the yellow in there, of course, it turned green. And I really wanted it to be blue. So now I take out this darker blue alcohol ink. And I don't remember the name of it, but it is like the darkest blue that comes in the box. And I put some of that in there. And yeah, it still looks green. So I put some more in. And with this epoxy, you want to stir it for a total of 6 minutes. So that's what I did. Now I'm going to put it in my coasters. And I got these coaster molds and the holder from Hobby Lobby. Now you see there, it's kind of a bluish green or a greenish blue. Greenish blue, I guess, which is pretty. I like it. But you're not going to get anything clear out of this because the hardener is yellow. But I don't want to throw it out. If I can still use it, I'll use it. So I'm not filling these up all the way. I just put a thin layer on the bottom so far. And then I'm just going to use my heat gun to pop some of the bubbles. And I'm actually making this set for a friend of ours that watches our kitties while we go on vacation. So I have spelled out the word Jamaica on some clear, what do you call it, acetate. And it was just on an inkjet printer. And you have to do this face down, because the top of the coaster is the bottom of the mold. So what I want to do is push my word down towards the very bottom of the mold. And I'm just using a toothpick to do this. And I want my Jamaica word to be in the center of my coasters. And now what I want to do is start putting my shells and coral and whatever else that we picked up in the ocean from Jamaica. And I'm going to put those in the coaster. So I actually put 3 below the word Jamaica and 3 above the word Jamaica in each of these. So different little shells and, just different pieces of things we got from the ocean. It was very hard to find like a full shell. But we did find a few little ones that had pink on them, and they were kind of cute. So again, I'm just pushing the shell down a little bit, and you do want to put them upside down, just like you did the word, because the bottom of the mold is going to be the top of our coaster. I think the part that takes the longest is deciding which shells to use and where to put them. And I did already give this to our good friend Curtis, and he did like it. Or he said he did. I hope he did. So I actually had my son-in-law, my daughter, and granddaughter, and my husband picking shells out for me in the bottom of the ocean, which was pretty cool. I picked some myself, but they weren't in the ocean. They were on the shore. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute my phone. So anyway, I'm just going to continue putting shells in until I get 6 shells in each of the coasters. And like I said, you do want to put them face down, so they're facing the right way when you go to use the coaster, because the bottom of the mold is the top of the coaster. Just figuring out where I want my shells to go. Like I said, that's the part that takes the longest in making these. Deciding which shell to use and where to put it. And I did have to take my glove off on my hand that was putting the shells and stuff in, because these gloves are a little bit too big for me, and I'm not able to pick up stuff and put them in my molds with the glove on. But I'm not touching the epoxy at all with my ungloved hand. Okay, I think that's the last shell, or do I have one more to put on there? I need one more on that second coaster, or is that it? Nope, that's it. And I have the sand that I picked up off the beach in Jamaica, and I'm just sprinkling that all over my coasters. You'll see in a minute when I add the rest of the epoxy that there was no need to really do that as far as spreading it all out. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. I thought it would be cool to have the sand all over the coasters. You know, just a sprinkling, not too much, because it does tend to sink to the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to pour the rest of the, or fill them up the rest of the way with the resin. And you'll see, as soon as I do that, everything shifts. The shells go up at the top and up at the, down at the bottom, and all the sand goes around the sides of the coasters. But after I looked at that, because I thought, well, you know, I could go in with my toothpick or my popsicle stick and move it around, but I'm like, you know what? I kind of like it that way. So all I'm going to do is make sure that my word Jamaica is in the center of each of the coasters. And I'm just going to leave the shells in the sand where they are, going kind of around the edges of the coasters, because I think it looks pretty good. And you do want to make sure when you're pouring your resin in your coasters and stuff like that, that you have them on a flat, level surface. Because if it's not, then your coasters aren't going to be level. So once I get those the way I want them, then I take them into another room and put them on top of the dresser, and for them to start curing. And now I need to do the holder. So the resin that I have left over, I go ahead and put some sand in it and stir that up. And I just dumped the rest of the sand that I have in that little container. Now I do have a water bottle that still has more sand in it that I can use for future projects. And of course I have more shells left over. And now I'm just going to pour this in my coaster holder mold. And like I said, I did get these molds from Hobby Lobby. So I think this is like the third time I've used this coaster and holder mold. And then I go to pour it in there and I'm like, you know what? There's not quite enough in here. It's really not full enough. I'm like, dang it. That's not good. I mean, I was scraping it and it's just not enough. It didn't fill it up. So now I'm going to have to make some more. And you do mix these 1 to 1. So that's part A. And then I'm going to put an equal amount of part B in it. I just need a little bit. And I actually overdid it, but just going to go with it. And then, like I said, you do need to stir it for 6 minutes. And then what I decided to do, because I did get this one a little bit more blue, which is really what I wanted. You know, I was still using the peacock and the blue. I was trying to get it the same color, but it turned out a little bluer, which is really, like I said, what I wanted. So I went ahead and dumped what I had poured in my coaster holder. I just poured it back. I just poured it into the little bit that I just mixed up. And I didn't know if you could do that or not, but hey, it worked out. So I'm just scraping out most of it. I mean, you know, I'm not going to get all of it out, but whatever I could get out, I got out. And then I just stirred it all up. And then I start putting some shells in it. Now, I probably shouldn't have done it like this because all the shells, you know, sink to the bottom of my cup and they're a little hard to get out when I go to pour it. I'm not exactly sure what I should have done. Maybe I should have put the shells on top of my mold there, and then when I started pouring the resin in the mold, then I could start putting the shells down along the sides of the mold. I don't know, but I mean, it worked out okay. I'm not unhappy with the final product. I do like it. And like I said, this one is a little bit more blue, which is what I like. And which is what I'd really like to have had on the coasters, but it didn't happen. So anyway, here you see me trying to scrape out some of the shells because they're all in the bottom of the cup. And only the resin is coming out. So I got to scrape them shells out. And then I'm just going to kind of start pushing them down the sides of my mold there. And of course, a lot of them were turned the wrong way, but I'm okay with that. But you see me there just pushing them down along the sides. Just getting out a couple more shells. And I take my heat gun and I pop any bubbles that are on top there, which there were a lot, but the heat gun takes care of them. And I did set those also on my level area so it could cure. And it cured all that day and overnight. So now I'm demolding my coasters. And looky, there they are. I think they turned out really good. That one was the only one that actually had a hole in it, and it was a hole where the shell was. And now I did over pour some of these, so I'm just taking my scissors and I'm cutting away the over pour on the edge. And then I'm going to take my sander there and sand off the extra that's on the edges. And there's the first one. And then I'm going to fix that hole. So what I do is I get some of the UV resin and a toothpick. And I get a little bit of UV resin on my toothpick and I put it in the hole there. And it only takes like maybe 2 drops. And then I put it under my UV light. I go ahead and do 2 minutes, but really probably only needed about 1 minute. I'm going to go ahead and demold these other coasters. And none of the rest of them had any holes in them. But I do need to sand most of them. I think there was one I didn't have to sand. But there's that one. I just think they turned out really cute. I like it. And here's another one. Not bad, not bad. And then this one is done. The only thing is, the UV resin stuck up a little bit, so I'm just sanding it down even with the coaster. Just a little bit. And I didn't even have to do anything else to it. It was okay. So there it is. No holes, it's all fixed. And here's the last one. I might have to make me a set of these. Again, this one had a little bit of overpour, so I'm just cutting off the extra with my scissors. It's soft enough to do that. It's not like real brittle or anything. And then once I get that done, I'm going to sand down the edges. And I'm using 180 grit. That's what I'm showing you right there. 180 grit sandpaper. So there's the last coaster. I like it. I like it a lot. Now I'm going to demold the coaster holder. I love the way this turned out. Look at that with the sand up the top of the edges. And you can see some of the shells. There's one or two down at the very bottom. There's those in the front, some on the sides, some on the backs there. There's ones on the bottom. I like it. And then there's a little bit of overpour on that. So I'm just going to take my 180 grit sandpaper and go over the edges. And then I have my Jamaica word. And I'm going to put this on the front of the coaster holder. And I just put some UV resin on here. And I'm using my toothpick to spread the resin over top of the word. So I have it over top and, of course, underneath. And then I'm making sure that the resin goes all the way to the ends, you know, to the sides and all like that. And I don't want it to run over the edges. Which it didn't. Thank you, Jesus. Because that would be a mess. Just going over it with my toothpick, trying to make sure everything is even. And I have these two boxes beside the holder there to put my UV light on so that my light is not going to be sitting on top of my holder. Because I don't think that would be good at all. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put my UV light on it for 2 minutes. Then once that's done, we're going to take a look at it. And it looks pretty good, but you'll see here in a minute. Well, here I go. Put my coasters in there. Yes, it's a coaster holder and it works. It works. Yeah. Showing you my coasters one at a time. Not too bad. I like them. I like them a lot. Jamaica on. And then I'm looking at my holder there, and you see there on the left under the J and the A, it just doesn't look right. And I was like, okay, do I leave it? Do I fix it? I mean, I was tempted to leave it, and I'm like, you know, I need to fix it. So what I do is I put a little bit more UV resin on it. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm just going to fix this little piece right here where the word is. And it didn't want, I mean, it wasn't exactly right. So I wanted to fix it. I'm just moving the UV resin around with my toothpick, trying to get it to where I need it to be. But if it doesn't look smooth, guess what? Once you do the UV light on it, yeah, it's not going to be smooth. So I'm taking this little makeup thingy here with silicone on the end of it, and I'm using it to kind of spread the UV resin around, and that wasn't really working as well as I'd hoped it would. So then I put a glove or a finger on my other hand, and I'm just using my finger to wipe the UV resin on the word there. So I thought maybe that would work. So I go ahead and I cure it, and I only have to do it for a minute. And then we'll look at it and see. Okay, let's look at it. Look at it. It still don't look that good. So you know what? I'm going to put the resin all over the front part of it again. We're going to fix this. It needs to look good. I mean, it's for the guy who takes care of our kitties while we're gone. So, you know, it has to be good. So I just take my gloved finger again, and I'm spreading the UV resin all over the front part, making sure it goes all the way to the edges, that everything is covered and it's not going to drip down the sides, because we don't want that. And I just kind of pat it. I'm like, what is that doing? Yeah, maybe I'll put that all over it. So I do pat it all over. But it pretty much levels itself out, which is fine. You know, I like it. And I'll show you what it looks like once I put it back under the light. But again, I'm going to use my heat gun to pop any bubbles there might be on top there. And then I'm going to put it under the light for 2 minutes. And now we'll take another look at it and see. Look, that looks so much better. Look at that. I'm so glad I did that, because I wouldn't want to give somebody something that's, you know, not so great. So there's our coasters and our coaster holder. And here's some pictures of them that I took. Now, before I gave these to him, I did back them with some cork. Again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? It doesn't cost you anything, and I'll see you in the next video.